Hi everyone, my name's James Ivey from TSR Jivey Talks Tech. Now I really hope you've enjoyed the sunshine and there's plenty more to come, so I'm told. But hey, it's back to the serious job of work, like we call it work. I'm a great believer in a phrase that's been coined called marginal gains. The theory being that if you make enough small improvements, eventually they all add up to one big improvement. Now, I've been searching for the perfect, ideal, optimal drum mic setup for years now. And the team at Syntax in the UK have just sent me some new snare drum and tom mics. These are the new snare mic and tom mic, they're not so new now, from Lauten or Lauten Audio. I'm going to say Lauten because that's how I think it's spelt. These things are a step up from your normal, how can we say this delicately, Far Eastern made generic tom mic and snare drum mic pack. These are very, very nice mics indeed. They're all condenser mics. They're made of brass. They're good and solid. They've got a nice weight to them. They sound great. And the key thing, if you like, is they are super, super focused. Now, I had the original, I think it's called the 308, the original Lauten Audio kind of 3 diaphragm condenser microphone. The theory being that the 2 were front facing, 1 was rear facing, and that gave you a really super focused, laser focused sound with great off-axis rejection. Now the snare and tom mics also offer a 28 dB reduction in the off-axis sound, meaning that if you just listen to the snare mic on its own, you're not going to get an awful lot of hi-hat in there, which is normally the bit that wrecks a good snare drum recording. So I've got the snare mic on my 1958 14-inch Ludwig WFL, and I've got the tom mics on the 10, 12, 14 and 16 Sonor SQ2. I think they're birch, Macassar ebony shells, and it sounds fantastic. Now, all the tracks you're hearing, let me turn that off, all the tracks you're hearing are unprocessed. All you're getting is the drum down the mic, effectively through the desk as a preamp and into Pro Tools. No processing, no reverb, no nothing. This is as naked and stripped down as it gets. So I find myself recording lots of different styles of music. Yes, I am primarily a kind of rock, funk, kind of MOR drummer, if you like. But I do record jazz, rock, big band, heavier styles of music. And thus far, these things have taken everything I've thrown at them. Watching some of the videos on the Lauten Audio site, there's a couple of great ones with Daryl Thorpe, you know, legendary engineer, producer, mixer. And he talks about where he likes to put tom mics and snare drum mics. And we come at it from a very similar point of view. The drums themselves sound better when you hit them in the middle. And sound weaker when you hit them towards the edge. So it makes sense to hang the tom mics as far over the rim you can, as is practical, because you don't really want to clunk them all the time, but have them pointing directly at the dead center of the drum, which is exactly what I've done on the 10, the 12 as much as I can. Again, it's really handy having this fantastic rejection because the ride cymbal, especially this big old 22, I think it's 23 even, is encroaching quite a long way into the drum. So I'm getting a really nice, solid tom sound without too much bleed coming in from the ride cymbal. Again, same for the first floor tom and the X-hat. And indeed, the massive 16-inch floor tom. Now, I'm not using any of the tone shaping or switching on these mics because in the studio, I kind of want to capture absolutely everything that's going into the mic. I can choose to filter it or curtail it, if you like, later on in the mixing process. However, when you're miking a live kit for a live show, yes, you're going to want to start to use some of the really cool switching that's in these mics. High pass and low pass filter, allowing you to shape exactly what's going on with what the mics are picking up. Now, both mics have a slightly different take on this, if you like. The toms are very much laser focused around frequencies that, most tom-toms make. Most toms have a fairly low sonic center, whereas the snare drum generally wants to be much brighter. And they've chosen filter frequencies that work independently for snare drum or toms, which is great. Now, as I said before, these are all condenser microphones, but they're kind of a hybrid, if you like, between what we'd refer to as a large diaphragm condenser, like these AIM Audios, or a small diaphragm condenser, like these Shores. They're kind of a hybrid between all the richness and warmth you tend to get from a large diaphragm, but also the transience and the attack you tend to get from a small diaphragm. They're a really good hybrid combination of the two, meaning you get plenty of crack out of the snare, but also plenty of lovely attack and yet plenty of warmth from the toms. These could be the best drum mics I've ever tried, which is a very dangerous thing to say out loud on the internet. But hey, you heard it here first. So there you go, the Lauten Audio snare mic and tom mics. I don't want to give these back because I think they're very forgiving with regard to position. Yes, I've kind of spent some time and got them in the right place, but I think you could slap these on the kit pretty quickly and get a very usable drum sound. They're solid, they've got a lovely build quality to them. The mounting system is great. You can buy the optional tom arm that allows you to mount them on the rims. I'm not a huge fan of these in a studio environment because I don't want to choke what is happening to the drum by clamping something fairly solidly to the rim. There's nothing wrong with that. Certainly in a live environment, it saves on the amount of mic stands you have to cart about, and certainly I have clamped on mics all the time. But there is something to be said from letting the drum ring and breathe and not clamping something surgically to the hoop. That's, for me, where I come from on that one. But these are really, really good. They'll be sorely missed. They're not the cheapest of drum mics, it has to be said. I'll leave the prices down there somewhere. I'll also leave links to our sales partners and to the Lauten Audio website so you can check these babies out and check all the specs and the boring stuff that, quite frankly, people with adenoids like to read. But yeah, really, really great mics. They sound fantastic, and I don't want to give them back. So not a paid video, this one, just because I wanted to try them. Thanks to the guys at Synthax for lending me these mics. I wonder if I can sneak them away somehow. So if you've liked what you've seen and heard, please do consider liking, subscribing, ringing that bell. Maybe not. And keeping up to date with all things new from TSR Jarvie Talks Tech. But for now, my name's James Ivey from JTT, and I'll see you again very soon.